Episode 53. A Deal with Time. Ethan does not ask by accident. He prepares. Preparation, he has learned, is the only thing time does not punish immediately. Panic distorts variables. Desperation introduces noise. Cleverness multiplies debt. But preparation, quiet and intentional, creates a shape the system recognizes as stable enough to engage. He spends 3 days reducing himself. Not physically, structurally. He stops provoking regret loops, stops testing divergence, stops introducing unnecessary randomness. He does not resist observation, but he does not feed it either. He moves normally, predictably, acceptably. The present thins. Not dangerously, just enough. On the fourth night, at 3:07, the pressure returns. Clean, centered, not heavy, not aggressive. It does not press behind his eyes. It does not distort sound. It does not bend the room. It simply exists in front of him like orientation without direction. Ethan understands immediately. This is not correction. This is availability. Time is not acting. It is listening. That is the window. Ethan stands from the floor slowly, making sure every movement is intentional. He steps into the center of the room. He does not speak right away. Speaking too quickly frames the interaction emotionally, and emotion is not a valid unit of negotiation. He breathes. The pressure remains stable. He breathes again. Still stable. That confirms it. Time is waiting. Terms, Ethan says quietly. The word is not loud. It does not echo. It simply enters the space and stays there. Nothing responds. That is correct. Time does not answer questions. It evaluates offers. I am not asking to reverse anything. Ethan continues, voice calm, precise. I am not asking to undo loss. The pressure does not tighten. Good. I am not asking for protection, he says, or exemption. Still no change. Each statement closes a possible misinterpretation. Ethan is narrowing the negotiation corridor deliberately. I am asking for boundaries, he says. The pressure shifts. Not closer. Not farther. It reorganizes. Tension. Ethan feels his pulse quicken, but he does not let it show in his voice. I want to know what is allowed, he continues, and what it costs. This is the most dangerous sentence. Once cost is named explicitly, it cannot be misread later. There will be no emotional renegotiation. No reinterpretation through suffering or appeal. The pressure hums faintly. Ethan recognizes the sensation now. This is not threat. This is a ledger opening. He steadies himself. What I offer, he says carefully, is compliance. The pressure sharpens. Not approving. Assessing. I will stop resisting optimization. Ethan continues. I will not interfere with selection. I will not attempt to preserve erased variables. I will not send warnings forward. Each clause lands like a weight placed deliberately on a scale. Ethan feels something close inside himself with every promise. Not regret. Recognition. These are not actions. They are positions. The pressure deepens, not as force but as resolution. Time is calculating. Ethan waits. Seconds stretch. At 3:07, the minute does not pass normally. It elongates, just slightly, not enough for anyone else to notice. Enough for Ethan to feel the system pausing to finalize terms. Then, the cost is named. Not verbally, not symbolically, internally. Something detaches. Ethan gasps softly and reaches for the table, steadying himself. The sensation is subtle but unmistakable, like a tension he has been carrying for years suddenly releasing without relief. He knows immediately what has been taken. Not memory, not time, not bodily function, not even identity, attachment, not to people, not to places, to outcomes. Ethan's knees weaken. He grips the table harder, breath shallow. This is worse than erasure. This is motivational extraction. Time has not removed what he loves. It has removed the pull toward futures that create instability. Ethan tests it instinctively. He thinks of Maya, not her face, not the pain of separation, the future he once imagined. the possibility of convergence, the idea that something lost could still be meaningfully repaired. Nothing rises. The image exists. The desire does not. Ethan swallows hard. That's the price, he whispers. The pressure does not react. Confirmation. He nods slowly, mind racing but contained. And the gain? He asks. The pressure resolves into structure. Not sensation. Constraint. Ethan feels it settle around his life like invisible rails. Firm but not restrictive. He understands them immediately. No further escalation through regret loops. No compounding instability through observation. No spontaneous renegotiation triggered by silence. No additional optimization beyond defined thresholds. He will not be hunted. He will not be refined further. Time will not surprise him again. In exchange, he will never want something the system cannot allow. Ethan exhales shakily. The clarity is terrifying. Clean, he murmurs. The pressure withdraws slightly. Agreement accepted. At 3:07, the minute passes perfectly. No lag. No thinning. No distortion. The room stabilizes fully, a level of coherence Ethan has not felt since before the first anomaly. He stands alone in the silence, heart pounding, mind unervingly clear. He tests the edges of the agreement. He thinks about warning someone else. The impulse does not arise. He thinks about resisting time. The thought feels abstract, like recalling a belief he once held but no longer understands. Time has not silenced him. It has reweighted him. The deal is elegant, precise, brutal, and honored without deviation. Ethan sinks into a chair, breathing steadily. He understands now why explicit negotiation is rare. Because time does not cheat. It charges exactly what stabilizes the system most efficiently. And the most valuable thing a human can offer is not life, memory, or sacrifice. It is desire. 3:07, the silence remains. But it is no longer empty. It is contractual. Somewhere in the structure of reality, a ledger has closed. Ethan has survived again. Not by escaping, not by resisting, but by agreeing to want less. The change does not announce itself. That is how Ethan knows the deal is real. He wakes the next morning without anticipation. Not dread, not hope, just wakefulness. His body rises at the first impulse, not because of alarm or urgency, but because the moment arrives cleanly. There is no echo. That absence is new. He stands at the sink and turns on the water. The stream runs evenly. No lag, no shimmer, no sense of correction hovering nearby. 3:07, nothing happens. Not silence thick with threat. Not attention tightening. Just time continuing. The contract is already executing. Ethan tests the first boundary unintentionally. He pours coffee and spills a few drops on the counter. He watches them bead and run toward the edge. The familiar reflex does not arrive. No parallel comparison. No adjacent better outcome. No awareness of how it could have been cleaner. The spill is just a spill. Ethan stares at it longer than necessary. This is the gain. Not safety. Not comfort. Finality. He wipes the counter and moves on. The world feels flatter now. Not dull. Resolved. At work, conversations proceed without friction. Ethan speaks when he has something to say and stops when he does not. He notices a colleague's irritation and feels no impulse to correct it, soften it, or preemptively optimize the interaction. The thought this could go better does not arise. That is the cost expressing itself. Time has not removed his intelligence. It has removed his investment in alternative futures. At 3:07, the minute passes cleanly again. Ethan notices something else then. People around him feel heavier. Not emotionally, temporally. They hesitate more, overthink, second guess. Their lives feel layered with possibility in a way his no longer is. He is moving along a single rail now. Stable, uncontested. That evening, he walks past the cafe where divergence once revealed itself. He pauses, expecting something to pull him back into comparison. Nothing does. The memory exists. The meaning does not. This is not numbness. Numbness implies loss. This is alignment. Time has not taken his feelings. It has taken their leverage. At home, Ethan sits on the floor and closes his eyes. He waits, not for pressure, for desire. He thinks of the future. Blank, not unknown, uninteresting. The contract has removed his appetite for outcomes that create instability. He understands the elegance of it now. Time did not need to threaten him. It needed to make his wants compatible. At 3:07, the pressure returns for the first time since the deal. Brief, precise, confirmatory, not correction. Audit. Ethan feels it pass through him and withdraw. The system is checking execution. Satisfied, something else happens then. A thought surfaces unprompted. This is enough. The sentence lands fully formed, without argument. Ethan does not question it. That is how he knows it is not self-deception. Self-deception argues. This does not. Days pass. The world continues. Ethan notices how often others attempt informal negotiation without realizing it. They linger in silence. They replay conversations. They stare at clocks as if timing itself might bend for them. Ethan does none of it. He acts, then stops. No loop follows. No regret. No alternate evaluation. This is the system's preferred human state. Not obedient, efficient. One afternoon, a coworker asks him quietly, "How are you so calm lately?" Ethan considers the question. "Because nothing is pending," he says truthfully. The coworker laughs uneasily, as if unsure how to interpret that. Ethan understands the gap between them. He has closed his ledger. Others are still accruing. At 3:07, a siren wails in the distance. Ethan does not flinch. The sound arrives when it arrives. No anticipation. No echo. He realizes then what the deal has truly done. It has made him non-reactive to temporal manipulation. Not immune. Aligned. Time does not need to spend resources on someone who no longer resists its direction. That is the unspoken benefit. Weeks later, Ethan encounters Maya by chance. Not planned. Not avoided. Just a crossing of paths that once would have ignited 1,000 internal calculations. They stand facing each other on a quiet sidewalk. She looks at him carefully. "You seem different." Ethan nods. "I am. Better?" she asks. He considers. "Finished," he says. She frowns. "That doesn't sound good." "It's not bad," Ethan replies. "It's complete." She studies him, unsettled. "I still feel it," she says. "The drift. The timing." "I know," Ethan says gently. "Don't you?" He shakes his head. "No, that is the truth. The split still exists. The divergence remains. But Ethan no longer experiences it as loss. Time has honored the terms. Maya steps back slightly, as if sensing distance that is no longer temporal but philosophical. "I don't think I could do that," she says. Ethan does not try to convince her. "That's why it works," he says. They part without drama. No regret follows. No echo. At 3:07, the silence is neutral. Ethan understands now why explicit deals are rare. Because they work. And when they work, the story ends. Not loudly. Not tragically. Quietly. A deal with time does not make you powerful. It makes you compatible. And compatibility is indistinguishable from peace. Until you realize what you agreed to stop wanting. Ethan sits by his window as evening settles over the city. Lights flicker on. Lives continue. He feels no urge to interfere. No impulse to warn. No desire to optimize what is not his to shape. The contract holds. Time keeps its word. So does he. At 3:07, the day closes without ceremony. The ledger remains shut. And for the first time since time began hunting him, Ethan is no longer interesting enough to pursue.